So basically after that trip, I was like, I gotta get away from this. So, so, so and seventh group was moving to Florida, and, I just really don't like Florida. So I was like, I love Fayetteville, North Carolina, so I'm staying here. So I switched over to USASOC, and, and then did, special operations for the last half of my career. So, was able to do some pretty like really cool things, man, and push myself and my teammates, and and met some of the greatest leaders I've ever seen on this earth, and a lot of lessons taken away, and really learning from people's and your own failures, right? So like contingency, but it being okay to fail in training, pushing yourself and not making the same mistakes, but that's where contingencies were built off of, is like something we didn't plan on, and the enemy gets a vote. So we either like it's a failure, or we're going to build something so this doesn't happen again, to be proactive or preventative, And so I think that it really helped shape me as a warrior, and I think, it's also like a very big part of my own journey through life is some of the things that I, was exposed to and was able to do. And, in particular, you had mentioned earlier about being awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, and, I'm very proud of that fact, man, but, it came at a great cost. And when I say that, innocent people were killed, and, I did everything I could. And I know that, in this hotel, it was a hotel attack in November 20th, 2015, and at the Radisson Blu in Mali, in Bamako, Mali. So in Northeast Africa, or Northwest Africa, excuse me, or whatever. Anyways, I'm there working at the embassy as an advisor, briefing the ambassador on, from a special forces perspective on the DoD's mission. And, I was by myself, I lived in a house by myself and had been in the country for 3 weeks. And I got a phone call from the country team, someone in the country, and there'd been an attack. And I was like, man, I think that's close, like the hotel. And it was like 600 yards from where my safe house or the team house was. And so I did what I thought was right and grabbed whatever I had with me, my kit, and, tried to call, I was like phoning a friend, like, hey, you can meet me at my house, and we can go check this out. And no, basically there was two Marine Special Operations guys that were also working in the MC doing a different mission, but very like-minded, and we were able to kind of rally at my place, and then between them and the regional security office, the like State Department, law enforcement, like one of the two of those guys, they had the ground knowledge. They lived in the country for however many years, but they've been in that hotel. They're the ones that like to say, hey, the TDYers and stuff they don't. Either way, having them there was critical, because it allowed me to make a plan on the fly, and it really just boiled down to like, all right, I know there's Americans in this hotel, and I need a start point, right? I'm gonna go get them, and a lot of that, having that type of mentality, like, it was just kind of like some of the interactions very, very rapidly. They were like, "You're gonna do what?" And I was like, "Yeah," and not the team necessarily that I formed, but some of the other people that was like, hey, they have like the room number and the information of some American that's in there. And I was like, all right, cool. Can I have that? Because that's a start point. So, but as it was going on, and I'm making, I'm moving towards the hotel and kind of doing my, like, just taking it in from the outside. And it was like, the whole glass from the front was shattered out. There's car alarms going off, and there's, a couple, people were killed in the, like, main front of the hotel. And like, there's people on balconies, like, trying to, like, lower themselves with, like, bed sheets down to the bottom. It was like 7 stories. And I was like, hey, like, stop. I was like, that doesn't even touch the ground. First of all, like, you don't want to do that. And I was like, hey, just, like, from the outside, like, hey, stay in your room, like, barricade yourself, and someone will be there to help you. And I was like, I don't want to overcommit myself as a big hotel, but it was like, I'm gonna do something. But right by that point, like, there was a phone call from the Marine security guards that were post 1 at the embassy, and they had been in contact with an American that was trapped in a room that was on fire, and the terrorists were in there, like, shooting over top of him, and he's like, like, saying that he's gonna die. And so that got relayed to us, and I was like, all right. I talked to the RSO, and I was like, hey, do you know where that room is exactly? And they were like, yeah, no, it's the banquet room, like the breakfast room, or the where they do the breakfast, or hotel breakfast, because basically the TDYers were getting picked up from the embassy vehicles, and they launched their attack from across the street. But the initial report was that it came from the embassy vehicles, and it was like 5 to 8 shooters, like, that stormed the hotel. And that's the info I got. That's what I was going off of. And which it ended up only being 3. And they didn't launch from the vehicles. They launched from across the street. That was, through watching, like, in retrospect, like, watching CCTV and all that other stuff. So, but with the guy in the burning room, I was like, okay, bet, let's go. I'll lead the way. You know how to get there. Like, let's go get this guy. And, so the RSO wanted to call the ambassador and get authority or authorization to go. And so he called him, and, he was a bit like, you're going to do what? And, and I'm like, like, hey, put it on speakerphone. Like, hey, sir, I'm going to lead the way. So Mike knows where this room is, and I'm going to go get him because he's going to die. Like, this room is on fire and he's not going to make it. So I'm going to go get him. And he's like, okay. And that was it. That's when I went in, and, I kicked it was like a embassy suites style kind of atrium, where you think, like, the 3 sides but it had, like, 2 glass spiral staircases that went all the way up. So it was, like, super exposed. So I went in through a side door, like a service door or whatever, and then just kind of, like, worked my way through until I could make it to the main area. But it's that French flooring system, so it's like everything was off by 1 floor from the way we number it. So, like, there's a 40 or some shit, but it doesn't make any sense. But so it was one of those things where I was like, all right, so you 10 to 2, cover that. You cover that. Cover me while I move, right? I just, like, mad dash, like, up this stairwell, because it's like, I don't know. It's like sensory overload, it's different when you go in with a bunch of people that you've worked together every day, but to go in like that, and it to be that environment where it's like the scariest environment possible, it's dark, it smells like fire and death, and the fire alarms are going off, and I make this dash, and I get up there, and then cover them coming up, and then I go into the room is like a French door thing, and, like, I kick it in, and it's like a wall of smoke and fire, and I was just like, okay. I dive into this thing and it floors you, right? I'm like naturally start low crawling or high crawling into a low crawl into I'm about to like die of my own like smoke inhalation myself. And I have no idea where this guy is. And I'm yelling his name and I'm using my flashlight on my rifle, like yelling his name. And and I was like, look, I mean, fortunately I had the wits of me like about me to like, I need to get out of here. I need to get back out before I can't get back out. Like I've lost my way completely. And I was able to make my way back out. And I was like, get him on the phone directly. No more like cut out through the MSG. Like, so we got him on the phone. And by that point, and I didn't know this at the time, but you know, venting a fire, you know, is going to make it worse. Inducing oxygen to the fire is going to make it worse. But for a period of time, like it lifts it enough to where you can actually see more and there's more breathable air, you know, lower. And so it had lifted, you know, and I was able to go back in and with the direction and kind of get him, you know, vectored in and call him to me and then get him out of there. But I had never been in a rescue type environment with, you know, dealing with fire. So, yeah, it was a big, you know, I learned a lot from after that, like, you know, from the FDNY rescue guys and what they do. It's amazing, you know, whether it's forcible entry or, so mechanical breaching, they're amazing at it, or rope work or fire stuff, man. It's just, it's really cool. And, you know, that was the start of a very long day, you know, so because I went back in. So I got the call at like 7:10 in the morning. I was in the hotel by 7:45 a.m. And then I didn't like call, you know, complete, objective, like complete or whatever. And that one American was killed. I confirmed that there was like, I think 23 people killed, Westerners. And it you know, you know, I didn't leave until like 1800 that day. And then, or so a little after that. And then actually the photo that I have like on my, you know, website or, you know, and I use the phrase like bearing the weight of the world. I'm walking away from, and that's the only photo that they were like take of me and like leaving that hotel to go to the embassy and brief the country team on what I had seen and what happened. You know, and the ambassador like pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, Kyle, like you're an American hero. Like what made you do that?" And I was like, "Well, hold on, sir. Like I have been training my whole life to help others and specifically like in a situation like who gave me the authority, and for me it was a moral obligation. You know, I wasn't going to ask anyone to do anything. It wasn't a mission someone sent me on. It was I had the skills and the ability to do something, and so I felt morally obligated to do it, and I did. And you know, a lot of things happened in that hotel, and you know, very intimate gunfights with the terrorists. And you know, like I got 2 concussions within a 5-minute period from, you know, 5 or 6 gunshots from 4 or 5 feet away, like right at my face, and then from the upper stairwell. And then, you know, right after that, like basically 2 frag grenades thrown down on me in the stairwell. And you know, but I never stopped fighting, man. And one thing I can say is that like those cats didn't kill another innocent person after they met me, you know. And their mission was to kill as many, you know, infidels or Westerners as they could. But I will say, when they saw me running up those stairs and I saw them, I was just as surprised. But it was one of those moments where you could just see like the fear, because they see, you know, like an big American flag on my chest, like running up these stairs. I wasn't running to go find them, but it just so happened like that. It forced the way that I was trying to get to the highest floor where Americans were, room numbers I had gathered, and I was going to work my way down because there wasn't rooftop access from outside. So I was like, all right, I just got to make this dash. And I didn't have breaching tools or anything. So like the first stairwell I got into and went up, like when I got to the floor, I think it was the 7th floor I was trying to get to, like I couldn't open the door from the inside of the fire escape or fire rated like stairwell. So, because it's got the crash bar or whatever, you know, so you need to open it from the inside for the exits. And, so I worked my way back down and then went over, and that's in between the 3rd and 4th floor of this other stairwell is where I ran into those guys. And yeah, so it was a very long day. And I thought for sure when I went out after that engagement, I went back outside after a while and took all my kit off and was like, hey bro, check me out, man. Like took my shirt off. Like I gotta be bleeding from the inside or something, because I just threw up and I feel like super nauseous and like I must be like, it was adrenaline keeping me going or something. I have to be bleeding out. And I mean, what it was is 2 concussions, like massive concussions back to back like that. And traumatic brain injury, like in the symptoms from that. And then not addressing it. I didn't get medical aid after that. Like I didn't stop, kept going, but then like no one came and like did a medical evaluation on me. Like I stayed in that country for 3 more months by myself. And that's like some of the aftermath that I really just didn't know how to, for one, everyone there was like, you're the savior. Like something happens, we're going to Kyle. And I was like, oh, okay, cool guys. Yeah. You come on over, man. And then, but behind the scenes, I'm like I wasn't okay, you know? Yeah. And the last thing I needed to do was stay there, because no one trains you to hug someone you just kicked the door in and carried them out of their room because they're so like shell shocked, you know, that they can't even carry their own body weight. And then they recognize you 2 days later in the embassy, and by my tattoo, they're like, oh my God, it's you. And then hug you and start crying. And it was something that, so the emotional, like it was very, it was so challenging for me, you know, and I dealt with it in a lot of different ways. You know, I tried the things I couldn't process, I coped with in the only ways I knew how, you know, and that was unhealthy ways. And, you know, but I didn't want to stop because I knew people needed me there. Right. They're like, he's going to help us if something happened. Because I mean, like it was a massive thing where they were evacuating families from the embassy. And like, you know, like for one, it's really difficult for me to like, I would never bring my family there, but to each his own. Like I appreciate what State Department does for, you know, for all these, you know, different other nationalities abroad and carrying some of the American kind of like, not philosophies, but like the core values of America in trying to help others. And I really do appreciate that, but not in a country like that for me, man. Like you don't send someone like me there and it be a place where your kids are. Yeah. Like there's no like, it doesn't make sense. But you know, but that is what it is. And, you know, ignorance is bliss, man, until it's not. And then it's just being naive. And it's it's in your face now. And now it's like, who's here that can help us deal with this?
But Kyle, you brought up some fantastic points, right? And I got to reiterate this, because here's the thing for my veterans out there listening, or even my active duty guys. Kyle's guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. You know, y'all know my story as far as getting knocked out and everything. It's not seeking that medical aid, right? Or because if you go ask for help, or if you go tell somebody, hey, I just got knocked out, chances are, hey man, you're gonna have to sit on the bench. Well, I don't want to sit on the bench, you know. And it's that difficult deal where we sacrifice ourselves for what we think in our minds the greater good. But man, those prolonged.
Well, it's like how much you can tolerate, right? I would used to tell myself my pain tolerance is so high. No, it's not my pain tolerance is so high. It's how much I care about my actual self.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I wasn't caring about myself enough to prioritize my own health over a mission, or because of all the points you're saying, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you never want to have to take a knee.
No.
And this is in hindsight, right? So I'm saying this with the goggles that I have on now, not goggles, but the lens that I'm looking through now, and yeah, sure. Like, I could have absolutely been more vocal about, like, hey, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go into that right now, but like, the bottom line is like leadership in general. Like,
sure,
it's on the leadership, especially in the military, to create environments that, for one, you empower your soldiers or your employees to make decisions without, feeling like they're going to lose their job over it, or, because when you tie people's hands like that, there's two ways they're going to go. They won't make a decision, or they'll be, so afraid to, and then you won't ever really get to develop them as a person, as a leader themselves. And I think, so the empowerment's huge, and I can truly say that I felt empowered to do those things, and without having to ask someone to tell me what to do, and not that I had things figured out, but I was like, well, someone's got to do something. And, I use the equation of, like, in a situation like that, I saw it firsthand, where it's like good and evil, right? Okay, I'm going to do something. If there's people that can't help themselves, then I've been trained in a way that I can do something by one person can make a difference in a situation like that, because the last thing they thought was they were going to run into someone like me that soon.
Yeah. No. Like, and yeah.
And it's I think that you can take that same kind of mindset and you can apply it to, like, some of these school shootings, and like anyone that feels like they like have this moral obligation to help, especially our children, in these environments, and they cannot protect themselves, whether it's evil or insanity. It only takes, like, reducing the amount of time for them running freely into these environments, and putting something between the good and the bad, or excuse me, the good and the evil, right? It could be an object, it could be yourself, but that's all you have to do, enough to be able to let them, the innocent people, like, get out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And because honestly, once I went in and then went back in, that's when you saw, like, this like all these host nation, forces, like, getting it, like, yes, the Americans and whoever are here, and they're, doing things. And then you just started seeing, that's when I actually started getting really scared, was because all these different people wearing different uniforms are entering this hotel from every different which way at that point. And it was like, oh my God. And it, like, I'm going to get shot from one of them, like poking around a corner, not trained, and just like,
just let rounds rip and scare becomes.
No, it was the craziest imaginable environment that I've ever been in a combat environment. And I've been in some pretty gnarly ones, but, like, this one was different, during the day, and, like, a Western style hotel. I think I kicked in 54 doors, like hotel doors. I didn't have a breaching anything. I used my foot.
Yeah.
And so it was comical, though, to watch some people try to, like, breach a door. I was like, excuse me. Like, whoo, like, and I'll take this one from the SEALs, man. I use the mule kit quite a bit. It's all about placement, whether foot placement or tool, save a lot of that old quad and hammy. By doing
Look at nothing wrong with that, No. All right, Kyle. So you
no shit. There I was
getting done your mule kicking,
Yeah. So 54 doors or so.
Yeah,
I wasn't
50,
counting all that,
54
but
doors, mule kicking later. But, here's one thing, I know you're in that transitional process and, getting ready to fire up, both companies, Blue Bearing. But here's the thing. I always like to ask guys, do you have any advice that you would give that transitioning service member, kind of from your transition experience thus far?
yeah, I mean, I think it's a process. Like it's a process that you should take and use that same energy that you put into your career and and take it serious because you know once you're out of that umbrella, I mean, sure, you're gonna do your VA stuff and hopefully someone's taking care of you, and there's so many resources out there to help you. But I mean, even like continuity of care, like if you're your primary care, or if you're in talk therapy, or you can set all that stuff up, to have that continuity in place before you even get out,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it's great. Like, so that way you don't just get out and then have your hands up. Like, you can do it a year out now. They can do a referral and you can start seeing off post providers. So it's, even if don't know if you're going to stay in the area where you retire to or from the active duty location, like get those systems in place, man, because it's a different world that you're going to go into, and you need to be just as prepared as you were going onto the battlefield, and um and take just be a sponge about listening to people that you respect and trust that have done that process and made those mistakes, and take their advice and try to apply it into your in your transition. And there is whether it be Army Skill Bridge or all these different programs, there's so many opportunities that you can take advantage of to help you, whether you want to learn a trade, or you want to go maybe transition into corporate America. You can do, like I did, about 6 months of internships at two completely different industries, but in corporate America, and out in Austin, Texas. And it was great because I honestly asked myself, I was like, what value can I bring to a company that's 35% PhD level data scientists? I'm like, I don't know, but they think so. So let's see. And yeah, I mean, I became a believer because it's the day-to-day interactions that we breathe, live, eat, sleep, and breathe, that some of the things that we just inherently do throughout our days in the military environment, with the teams, and leading each other, and mentoring and counseling, and it's great because corporate America, they you know it's a great opportunity to see yourself from a different perspective, that you can bring value into a new mission
Mm-hmm.
that may seem very, on the surface, like I'm a fish out of water here,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, even just like the mentorship, like, hey, like, all right, you guys are doing what? Okay, let's talk about it, and use the planning process, like
Yeah.
MDMP or whatever. Like, all right, well, let's break this down into, like, you and you turn and face each other and talk.
Mm-hmm.
All right, execute. Like little things. Like, you're just like, a lot of the correspondence or communication happens via email, and I'm not saying that you have time to go in every company to go have a face to face, but you can do stand-ups or closeouts, and sync,
Mm-hmm.
and establish, like, be a good steward of people's time, right? It's the one
Yep.
resource that we don't have enough of, and you're not getting any back,
Mm-hmm.
so as a leader, like, some of those things that we do, because it's like there's a process for a process in the
Mm-hmm.
military, and it's like, okay, not everything is a good fit, but maybe some of it can be. And that's how I did it. Like, I would take as I'm learning, right, a new, even just being technically literate, the lingo. I was like,
Yeah.
wow. Like I have to learn so much just to keep up in some of the meetings. But a lot of, if you take all that away, or you start to understand the lingo, it's like at the core of it, it's communication. It's you know, understanding the mission statement, the commander's intent. What does success look like? You know, it's those things that we're just, you know, it's there's such an emphasis of those things being clear and communicated in order for us to develop our own mission statement, or, you know, to plan out an objective and come off the target and, you know, bring everybody back and accomplish the mission successfully. And you know, there's a lot of things that you can do out there. And I'm realizing that myself. And it's not just like, well, I don't know, I was just a grunt in the Army, or I was just a special forces guy and I should teach shooting. You know, I love shooting, and I do. And I'm doing it because it's one part of what I enjoyed doing. But I do know that there's so many things that are just exciting about, you know, stepping into this new chapter. And
but Kyle, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? So when you have a passion, and you kind of hit a couple good points, you know, one, you're talking about setting yourself up for success prior to getting out, laying that groundwork. Hey, I was the guy that walked out the gate and was like, well, where's my gym? Where's my range? Where's my dock? It didn't do any of that prep, you know, so doing that beforehand is huge. And then, you know, the other part is it doesn't matter what you do, right? So people go, well, you go in the shooting space because that's what you want to do. No, that's your passion, right? Yeah. But you also have a sidebar passion of wanting to do, you know, that public speaking or team building event. You know, you want to get that teamwork in there as well. And and that's the part, you know, I think the key takeaway message is do what you're passionate about. It doesn't matter what it is, right? If you sit there and go, I want to go underwater basket weave, dude, if that's your passion, do it, man. I mean, we all chuckle about it, but
or try it, man. If you think it is, like, you go out, you have an opportunity to do it,
right?
You know, and embrace it and accept that. Like, the biggest thing for transition, man. And if I could say one more thing about that is, like,
absolutely,
you don't get out if you feel like you've left something unfinished. You know, some people aren't afforded that opportunity, and, you know, I get it. I totally get it, but try your best. Like, for me, it's like trying my best to, like, accept the fact that, like, that was a part of my life for a part of my life.
Exactly.
Like, it was a job, and I'm proud of being able to serve this country in the ways that I've been able to do. But my new mission is different, and it's exciting because,
you
know, I'm in control of it, you know, and, you know, I'm going to do the things and try new things and fail and succeed. But ultimately, if I stay true to myself and my family, like, the sky's the limit, man. And I want to, you know, I want to change. I want my legacy. I want my legacy is not about what I've done. My legacy is how I raise my kids, and they are my legacy. My children's children are the legacy of me. So
did you listen to my War HOGG Words of Wisdom?
No.
It's
no,
funny,
but we're it's like osmosis, though, right? Or,
well, it's funny you bring up the legacy part, right? Because when I was on Ashley Horner's podcast, that was her closing statement. What do you want your legacy to be? You know, and it's a powerful. It caught me off guard, right? Because it's like, well, you know, you want your legacy to be this, to that. Yeah, it's always to your family, right? Your kids are your legacy. But I kind of looked at it as, man, if you can just help one other person, right? Just one. That's mission success. I mean, it's just, there's so much. It's funny you bring that up, because that is a great question for people to ask themselves, you know, what do you want your legacy to be? And a lot of people will go, well, you know, I want to have umpteen $1 million and I want to fly jets, and that's cool. But you bring up a fantastic point. You know, you brought up great points for the whole transitional piece, you know, It's just,
Yeah.
it's funny you brought that up, man, because that was just one of those that,
Well, you know what they say, great minds think alike.
there you go, buddy.
And so do we.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, here's the thing, Kyle, right? I want to tell you this. My hat's off to you. And here's why. In my opinion, you're far ahead of where I was during the same process in my transitional period, right? I didn't do a good job reaching out to mentors. I did have somebody tell me that my original business name was rubbish. We did have to rebrand to War HOGG. I didn't have social. Dude, I did like everything wrong, but in Rick's mind, I was so far ahead. Oh yeah, dude, we're tracking. And then all of a sudden you get out and reality starts clipping at the ankles, and you're like, oh, there's another notch I got to go work on, and another one. But I got to tell you, man, you're out there crushing it, and I am super excited to see what you've got rolling in the future. You're a brave man because you're starting not one but two different companies during that transitional process. So yeah, and you're going to see, man. So you might struggle with one, and one might success, or ups and downs, or they might both rocket at the same time. I mean, it is hats off to you, brother. So super happy for you.
Oh, thank you, man. I was going to say something really funny, but
okay,
I think TBI kind of got me there.
It happens.
I appreciate everything. I know what I was going to say. Thank you. And the reason I attribute my being even like at this point, having this type of mindset and doing the things that I'm doing, like it's because of like the mistakes I've made and being honest with myself. And like, there's no more rationalizing those types of behaviors and mistakes. And not if I want to like live the life that I was intended to live. And a lot of that was my physical, like the surgery that I mentioned, and then, trying to never, like everything after that, even though when I made the decision not be operational anymore after the surgery, like not right away, but I made that decision. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go teach like preaching or explosives. And then I was around it for a day or two, and I had a migraine for like 9 days because there had been such a gap from the surgery to then. So then that crushed me because I was so passionate about that, and I could give back, but not be operational and give back. And then after that, it was such an uphill, like, what do I do? Like, what am I going to do? And not until I've had some spiritual awakenings, man. And recently, and I'm sober. And I've been, it's important that I'm vocal about it, because my sobriety is just one part of my recovery. But it's really important that I maintain that. And, I've had quite the unsuccessful drinking career, man. And, I'd say I was a professional at it, and with a losing record. So, it's almost like, all right, what's the definition of an insanity? You do the same thing over and over, expect a different result, even if it's like, okay, maybe it was like rock bottom, right? So rock bottom, people think, oh, you hit rock bottom, they'll realize it. Well, for me, rock bottom, it was defined to me by someone that I respect, but it's your inability to lower your to lower your standards faster than your circumstances. Right. So what that means to me is like, I'll dig a hole deeper next time, because I love that process for some twisted way. Well, I did, because I was afraid to face some of the things that I just have to face and address, the character defects and the physical, TBI, like symptoms and trauma and I think part of it was like the climb out of that hole. I think I was addicted to that, and so I think for me, like it's very important it's critical that in this process I be vocal about and vulnerable, because I'm not here to prove how badass I am. I'm here to tell a story about what a human being can do and can do for another.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like the impact that that can have if you're not ready to address it, or you can't identify what's happening, you know, what you're feeling. And then you don't want to tell someone. And the reality is like, I know that my new mission is like to help others. If I can help, like to your point, one person from going to a dark place or in one, and they resonate with
Mm-hmm.
something I've said, you know, and that impacts their decision to not take their life. Like I've succeeded in my new mission.
Yep.
You know, because that is near and dear to me. I mean, like you guys said, like I've lost people, you know, from taking their own lives, man. And I'm no better than any of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, none of us are. We're all the same, you know, type of people, you know. And it's closing the door for help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta even if it's just barely open, like I've left it open, right? At points it's more open or more closed, but like I've kept mine open. And the fact is like I'm trying my best to love everyone, because we were put on this earth to connect with humanity, connect with one another. And there was a period where I disconnected from that, and it was the most scared I've ever been. And I feel like I put myself there, even in a crowd, like, and you know, I've seen evil, but I've seen a lot of things, and that is the most scared I've ever felt. So,
But Mark, I mean, Mark and I have said this over and over. You know, it's a selfish decision. So you take
it is, no doubt.
Yeah. You know, at that point, you're thinking all about you and not the repercussions it's going to have. And like you said, reach out, man. You know, talk to somebody, get some help. You know, but I tell you this, Kyle, I'm just super motivated at everything you've got going on. I'm going to tell you this. We're going to have to stick you down in the books to bring you back on, because I'm super curious where things are going to go for you. You know, just want to say thank you for your service. Thanks for sharing your story. You know, is Blue Bearing Solutions, the website, going to come online anytime soon? Like, when's your projected?
It's been online. It's been kind of down in maintenance right now.
Right.
As things are changing, but I would say by the end of the month, it'll be back up with the kind of a new kind of look and
fresh look. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And
there's nothing wrong with doing maintenance. There's, you know, do you know, can people still go, well, it's down altogether. They can't even sign up for your newsletter if they wanted to, can they?
No, not right now. But the best way to do anything with me is either, you know, emailing me at bluebearingsolutions@gmail.com, or just DM me on Instagram at bluebearingsolutions. And it will be, and I will be more as the soft rollout of the Divergent training group and kind of the great things that we're going to try to build and do. And thanks for letting me share.
Absolutely, buddy.
And it's been an honor, and thank you for your service.
Well, the content on Blue Bearing, that's right. Your content on Blue Bearing Solutions is already awesome. So people are going to go check that out. Keep that going. And you're going to have to come back and give us an update, because I'm with Rick. I think this is going to move very quick, and your passion is going to drive it. And I think your passion is going to be the hook for folks to follow and start filling up those calendars. I can't wait to hear it. So you have to come back and tell us.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you. More than happy to. And love chatting with you guys.
Absolutely, buddy.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yep.
All right, man.
All right.
I tell you what, don't go anywhere. We're going to do we're going to exit, and then we'll, don't hang up on us. We'll be right back with you. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. All right. Well, man, what a story. And you talk about a rising star. It's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you, to start up or be transitioning out, crank up 2 business, man, hats off.
It's ambitious.
Dude, super ambitious, man.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When you listen to Kyle speak, man, he's passionate. He's going to sit there and rock this stuff. Looking forward to seeing what he's got. So, man, Mark, it's always great. Thank the viewers, listeners out there for giving us your time. Super thankful for that. Don't forget, guys, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, tell people you don't know. Just walk down the street, see the stranger, say, hey, man, did you listen to On the Range podcasts?
Chances are they probably already know who we are.
Yeah, chances are. Top 2.5% of all podcasts globally.
You don't get the top 2.5% without nobody knowing you.
No. But, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you listen to different platforms, hit them all. Leave us a rating review. We would greatly appreciate it. Just help us beat that algorithm, get our reach out there. Don't forget, guys, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/On the Range podcasts. Last but not least, warhog.com, KelleyDefense.com. Go there, sign up for our newsletters.
Man.
Here's the thing, man. If you guys are on the newsletters, you're the first to know stuff. If I get classes that I'm going to do, boom, punch it out to you guys first.
Promo codes, everything.
All that stuff. You guys are getting all that stuff beforehand. I value those that are on the email list, and trust me, I'm not going to inundate you with umpteen gazillion newsletters, because trust me, I'm behind a little bit just because everything else going on, but here nor there. So anyway,
well, have a great week, Rick, and it's always a pleasure, pal. We'll see you next time. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
Again soon. All right, buddy. Take care, guys.